this young woman has won 2 MOBO Awards. Yes, she has. She's had one of the biggest UK garage hits in the history of the world. But she's also an entrepreneur, an actress, her own fashion line. She's also created her own reality TV series. And Kele has had a very, very interesting life, which we will talk about, because it was the 90s, and 90s music industry was treacherous, okay? So I'd like you to welcome someone who survived all of that and is going strong, Miss Kele Le Roc. Doesn't she look beautiful? Always, always, always.
Thank you.
This section is called Maestro Still Rising, so Kele doesn't know anything that we're going to talk about. But there's only one thing with Maestro Still Rising. We always start with one question, and that question is, where are you from? Hey, I know. It's a tricky one.
Where am I from? Okay, so I'm from East London, first and foremost. I was born in Hackney. Actually, my mum said it's not Hackney. She said it's Homerton.
Okay, it's still part of Hackney.
Schematics in Mother's Hospital, which is no longer there. Now it is buildings of flats, apartments, as they do. So I grew up in East London, but my heritage is Jamaican.
Okay. Jamaicans in the house? Okay. Tell me about your mum and dad, because they were both quite creative, weren't they?
Yes. So my mum is a clothes designer, but what's really funny is, because obviously I get asked this question quite a lot, what I realised maybe about 10 years ago is that my mum used to sing. But then she started smoking and lost her voice. So then she kind of went off into doing clothes design. But yeah, my whole life I was like, oh, my mum's a clothes designer. She was like, oh no, I used to sing. And I was like, oh. So I guess I get that from her. But also my mum taught me to sew. So I sew, I make my own stuff, as you know. And my dad, he was like, it's so mad because so many people knew my dad back then. And I didn't understand until I got a lot older that my dad was like an influencer before influencing was even a thing. And when it really kind of clicked home was, what's his name? He's with Defective Records. Marvo, what is his name? He's basically, he's one of the DJs of Glitterbox.
Okay.
And he put up this video of my dad and his best friend Leon Herbert, and they're dancing.
Leon Herbert?
Yes,
Leon
my dad's
Herbert's
best
a
friend.
very well-known actor.
That's my dad's
from
best
back
friend.
in the days.
And they're doing this, they're like dressed in this like cowboy outfits, and they're doing this dancing. And he posted it on his page. So I was like, oh, that's my dad. And he lost his mind, literally lost his mind. And then he was like, oh my God, Trevor Shakes is your dad. That's my dad's name, Trevor Shakes. And then he was like, oh, growing up, my dad used to talk about your dad all the time. Trevor Shakes wore this, Trevor Shakes did that, Trevor Shakes played this, Trevor, did this dance. And that's not the first time I've heard it. But the reason why it hit so hard is because I said, oh, does your dad know my dad? He said, no.
Right.
He was like, he was just around at the time, and my dad was this icon that everyone would follow around to all the clubs and stuff and emulate. And I was thinking, oh, maybe he knew my dad. He didn't even know my dad. And his whole childhood, his dad used to wax lyrical about my dad, which just blows my mind.
So your dad was obviously a very charismatic
Yeah.
person.
And even I do the the drum and bass orchestra with Fabio and Groove Rider. And again, Fabio is like a fan of my dad.
Wow.
And again, never met him, like officially, just like used to see him out and about and hear about him. And he was like, if your dad wore these trousers, we bought the trousers. If your dad played this song, we played the song. Like, just blows my mind. Yeah, so, yeah.
So you've got this family unit. They're both very stylish. How did you discover you could sing? Was it at school? Was it within the household? Was it community organisations that we've been talking about. When did you discover you could sing?
I went to dance school from the age of 3. So
Okay.
I was trying to emulate the Nicholas Brothers. I love musicals. And at the age of 3, my mum saw me trying to tap dance, so she sent me to dance school. And then obviously like singing and dancing goes like part and parcel. But when I was 12, I had a knee operation. Later on, I found out it was because of my feet, because I've got really flat feet and they roll in, and that's what affected my knee. But at the time, the doctor just said to me, you're going to always have problems with your knees, so dancing perhaps isn't for you. So I was like, okay, I'll be a singer. And I just focused more on singing, and I started going to studio when I was 12 years old.
Yeah, but you know when people just say, I started going to studio at 12 years old, like it was just a normal thing? Like she just expects me to skip that, like skip over that. That's not a normal occurrence, Kelly, to make that clear to you. So what do you mean you started going to studio at 12 years old? Who told you could sing? Or was it you saying, right, I want to go to studio and begging someone to go? How did that work?
So at dance school, it's like, I mean, you went to stage school, didn't you?
I did
you
go
go
stage
Conti's?
school. I went to Barbara Speaks for my
Barbara
sins.
Speaks. So you know, like singing and dancing kind of goes hand in hand.
Mm.
So over the years, like we used to do competitions and stuff like that, and when we used to do shows, and then slowly but surely, my dance teacher used to like solo me out, and I would do solos and stuff. But I was so shy. Like for years, I was one of those people when, you know, you'd have a family event and everyone would be like, Kelly can sing, and I'll be like, sing, and I'll be like, don't look at me, you know, and we'll turn around. I used to be so shy. But yeah, I think it was just that, like people would hear me sing and be like, oh, you've got a nice voice. And then over time, I was like, I have got a nice voice, and started to believe it more. Yeah. And
so when you were in studio at 12 years old, who were the producers? Who were the people that got you in?
So my mum's really good friend, he's my little sister's godfather, Abraham, he took me to his studio, and the first song I ever recorded was Don't Tell Me, Tell Her It's Over.
Oh, that's a tune.
Yeah, it was rubbish. I've got it on a tape somewhere, you know, like nowadays these kids on TikTok and YouTube, they sound like Mariah Carey at 7 years old. That wasn't me. But I had something, obviously, but no, yeah.
You started to develop that craft, I take it. Because by the time I hear about you, you're 16, and I was working with a production team called Best Kept Secret. Terry? I mean, I've never heard, I had worked with them before, because obviously I was a singer in the 90s. And I'd worked with them, and I'd never heard them wax lyrical about a singer before, like they did about you. So how did you meet Best Kept Secret, and how did you realize that these are the people I click with?
So from the ages of 12 to 16, I literally just, anyone that said they had a studio, I would just go and sing in their studio. And it's not like today where we have studio is software. You can do it on your phone now. Do you know what I mean? With your little plug-in microphone. Like you needed to go to a proper studio. So in order to kind of hone that craft, I would just sing everywhere. And because of that, I mean, it was quite good for me because I got to sing so many different types of music and kind of really honed my craft, like just singing multiple genres. And actually, probably a bit stupid as well, just going to anyone's studio, which is a bit mad, but luckily I was okay. And then my dad, who was really good friends with Mikey Craig from Culture Club, he had a younger brother called Giles Craig, and knew that they were doing some production stuff. And I think as well, I hadn't yet met anyone that was really doing the kind of music I wanted to make. I was just singing it for sing's sake, you know, to just be in the room, be at the studio, you know, learn how to use, you know, the equipment, learn how to do BVs, etc. So they really saw the vision of kind of where I wanted to go, artist-wise and music-wise, which was R&B. You know, I loved R&B, I loved soul music. Back then, I mean, I've always been a Prince fan, but back then, Janet Jackson was I was like, I want to be like Janet Jackson, you know. So they kind of really honed that in me, and people don't do it so much now, but I will always credit them for my artist development. Yeah. And they also gave me my name, Digital. Did you meet Digi? Debbie Digi?
Yeah, I met them.
Yeah,
so I didn't realize they gave you your name. How did your name come about?
So whenever I used to like sing or perform, they used to say I rocked hard, and there was like a Prince song called Rock Hard in a Funky Place.
I know that.
Yeah, and so when we were thinking of names, because my name's Kelly Biggs, I mean, now it could work.
Yeah.
Like Mr. Biggs, Mrs. Biggs, it could work. It's got that kind of mafiosa thing about it, but yeah. Digital named me Kele Le Roc. He was like, what about Kele Le Roc? And I was like, I love it.
It works.
Yeah.
So you're with Best Kept Secret and you end up making a song called Let Me Know, which was a big underground hit. And from that, you had a number of record companies that wanted to sign you. One was Sony in the USA, and one was a label called First Avenue, which I was also signed to.
Yes, you were.
Myself was signed there, Eternal was signed there, Dino Carroll was signed there. So they had like black pop R&B acts. And how did you make a decision about whether to go to Sony in the USA or to some of the UK label?
So Sony happened just before I got signed to First Avenue. And I think that was when I was around 16 still. And at the time, there was just lots of drama, and then they only wanted me to go. They didn't want me to bring anyone, and I just didn't go.
Okay, let me tell you about that.
Yeah.
Don't ever do that.
Yeah.
Because I remember, we talk about the treacherous 90s.
It was Chicago as well, where R. Kelly lives. So
yeah.
I was like, sometimes rejection is protection.
Yeah, because I got dropped off in, first of all, in LA by my A&R man when I was like 22, 23, left alone for 8 weeks.
Was that Dennis?
Yeah.
Dennis left me in LA by myself.
Yeah. So what you realize is they leave you alone to work with these producers, I won't name them, who then spend the whole 12 weeks trying to sleep with you.
Oh, that didn't happen to me.
Did that not happen to you?
No.
Well,
thank God.
I spent 12 weeks going, no. And then it became, I know you'll sleep with me if I make you a hit. Because they had this thing where they thought...
What producer was that?
I can't name them.
We'll talk about it later.
Because he's quite well known. He's made some hits. Yeah, he literally used to say... There was an expectation, I think, that they thought that you'd sleep with them to get a hit. And then he thought, oh, you play really hard to get. I'll make you a hit first, then you'll sleep with me. He was like, no, that's not going to happen. So that didn't happen to you?
No, thank God.
Thank God.
That didn't happen to me, no.
Maybe I was a little bit older than you, so they probably thought...
I mean, if they're doing that, they're doing that, right?
Yeah.
They just didn't fancy me.
No, you just got an actual decent producer.
Possibly.
That's what happened there.
It might be the same person.
We'll talk about it. I don't think it is, though. It's not someone that you've worked with.
Oh, okay.
Right. So then you come back and First Avenue, you've got this buzz about you. I've already heard about you through Best Kept Secret. And I can't remember who played it to me first, A Little Bit of Lovin'. And I thought, this is going to be massive. And that ended up being your first single. How did it do in the charts?
So obviously Let Me Know was the first single, but that was my first official release. It was number 8 in the charts. So we got a top 10, which was amazing.
Ooh, can we hear it? Kelly, you know I love you. So when you first get signed to First Avenue, and I don't know if you felt this, they tend to, in the music industry, put female artists against each other, like they try to invent this kind of rivalry. And because I was signed to First Avenue and I was a black solo singer, female, I feel like people were trying to make me feel like I shouldn't like you, I should have been against you, why have First Avenue signed another black female? And for me, I just love talent. So I just felt, no, like I said, Terry played you to me. I loved you. And I think people were very surprised by the fact that, for me, the more black females in the room, the better. I wouldn't allow myself to feel insecure about that and pull the drawbridge up. I wanted to embrace you. So I just wanted to know if you felt that you were pit against, because they used to do the same with Shola Amma, Beverly Knight. And the thing is, I'm friends with them all to this day because I refused to buy into that. How did you feel? Did you feel that you were being pit against other females?
100% for sure. Not so much within the First Avenue family, because I feel like we were like, we're a family, you know. But definitely out there, yes, they would try and pit us against each other. Almost like there can only be one black female artist, so, you know, you shouldn't support them. But ultimately, how I see it is that actually these are my sisters and we're going to need each other, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. And she's not just saying that because some of her best friends to this day are great black female singers, including Terry Walker, who's probably your best friend. So Kelly's not just saying that, like she actually lives what she's saying right now. The music industry is tricky. Yes. And I was aware that Polydor, who First Avenue had done a licensing deal, has spent a lot of money, wanted to back you, but then a fallout happened. What was that fallout?
So, and this is when it's nothing to actually do with you as the artist, it's nothing to do with your creativity. So there was a few things that happened. So the first thing that happened was when we did the album cover, if any of you guys remember my first album, Everybody Somebody, they had it shot in Paris by a photographer called Kele Le Roc, who's a phenomenal photographer. I'm not going to take that away from him. And, you know, the argument was he's photographed supermodels and, you know, who are you compared to a supermodel? But literally his thing was he used to do like different models and artists in black grease paint. So in this, it was a beautiful photo. I'm never going to say it's not artistic and it's not beautiful, but nobody could recognize me on my album cover. People kept saying to me, "Who's on your album cover?" And I was like, "It's me." So there was that, and then I was, you know, the one good thing about First Avenue is that they had connections. So I was literally at the time on every TV show going. I was on Terry Wogan, like you name it. I was on all the shows, you know. If you're Terry Wogan, that's so back in the day, isn't it? Bloody hell.
We is old.
I think, is he passed away now?
Yeah. Hello, Kelly, quite a while ago.
Yeah, well, we were on Terry Wogan.
Wake up, girl.
And then also, they had all these billboards everywhere. I actually was against that photo. I said, I love the artwork of it. I said, but I feel like it should be me as I look, you know, normally. Because I don't even recognize myself, you know. So that was one of the first things. Then the single came out, and I think at that point we'd sold I think it was like 180,000, and the second single 250,000. Then the album comes out, and it only sells 8,000 in the first week, even though there's all these billboards everywhere. My math is saying it's because no one can recognize me. They've seen all the billboards everywhere and they don't realize it's me. Because how can you go from selling 250,000 records to 8,000 in a week? No one knows that's my album. Then I was supposed to go on tour with All Saints. They took me off the tour because of the album sales. I know. That would have helped boost the album sales, but they took me off the tour. And then the third single, which was supposed to be a track called You Did It Good, which was a cover version from the LA Boppers, which I loved. And I'd always do it in my live shows. So then my label was like, you should record it, because they just loved it. And then someone at Radio 1 didn't like it. And then a whole argument happened between Dennis and Ollie and Polydor, Lucian Grange.
Lucian Grange is now the most powerful man in music.
He literally runs the whole of Universal.
So Drake, you know the court case that Drake's doing, if you're aware of that? He's doing that against Lucian Grange. Lucian Grange is the head of Universal Music Group worldwide. So Lucian Grange became the most powerful man.
And at the time, he was the MD of Polydor. Or maybe even just Wildcard at the time, but he was the MD there. But now he's the MD of the whole of Universal. And obviously Universal have bought all these other labels and just made them one big Universal label. So that's who I was dealing with, really. And so Lucian and Ollie and Dennis had a big argument. I wasn't even there. And then I get a call from Dennis saying, we're leaving Polydor. Then I'm like, okay, we're leaving. That was fine. But then Dennis and Ollie just wouldn't let me leave. They wouldn't let me leave them. And then they just had me there for ages. And because they were no longer getting the money from Polydor, they weren't spending any money on me. They literally just left me on the shelf. And I had a 10-year album deal, and they wouldn't let me out of my deal.
Oh, wow.
Like for 3 years, I tried to get out of my deal. They wouldn't let me out. In the end, I think I did it by myself. I ended up doing the track Romeo with Basement Jaxx, and then they got wind of it just before I was about to leave them, and then they what they do. They take their big cuts.
Did they take their cut of that?
Of course they did.
So Dennis and Ollie were the heads of First Avenue, and one day, what I'm saying is a film is going to be made about them because they are notorious in the British music industry.
Notorious.
And I don't know if you felt like I felt, because I felt that, okay, they've got this kind of bad reputation, but they also had a reputation of getting big deals. Yes. So I just thought, well, they'll be the bad guys, but at least I'll make money. And
they're my bad guys.
Yeah. And at least I'll make money. But actually, what you realize is they burn a lot of bridges. Yes.
And also as well, Dennis would go in and he would like remix every song on he remixed every song on my album, and he'd remix every song on my album for like 25 grand a piece, and then he'd charge that back to Polydor, and he would literally go in studio with some young guy and give him 500 quid. So he made all that money off doing remixes of my album. Like if you want like a 101 how to like literally pillage your artists, you need to use their their rule book. Yeah.
I mean, I know we're laughing now.
Yeah.
But how were you at that time? That's 3 years of your life, 3 years of your career on the shelf. Yeah. Did you have mentors to support you, family, other artists? How did you get through that 3 years?
I was very bitter. I was very depressed.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine you being bitter. but do you know what though? It's good to hear that, because then we know there's a way through that bitterness. So sorry to interrupt you. Continue.
Yeah, I was very bitter. I was very depressed. I think around that time as well, I started getting anxiety. I never had anxiety before then, really. I used to smoke then as well. I used to smoke weed quite heavily. No. I would say weed.
Just say no, kids.
Yeah, weed was a big catalyst for my anxiety, I don't smoke anymore. But eventually I managed to get out of my deal, as I said. And I think I just did a big gig and I made all this money, and they literally, I made about 56 grand, and they left me about 3 grand.
Oh, wow.
But that's why I bought myself out of my deal, because luckily Polydor recouped all the money that they spent on me. They recouped it all. And every penny that First Avenue spent on me, they took it back. Yeah.
Wow.
They took it back.
Yeah, that's... But she's free. But she's free. So I knew you were going through this, but not to the extent that you've just told me. And then I remember hearing Romeo and feeling so happy for you. Where did that get to in the charts?
That went, I think, number 6 in the charts.
Yeah, I just remember hearing her voice all over the airwaves and thinking, you did it, girl. You're one of the First Avenue survivors. It's hard not to love you, Kelly.
It's hard not to love you, babe.
Oh,
and also, like, your skin is like 12 years old. I say so every time I see it, I'm like, your face, you're so beautiful anyway, but you look like a 12-year-old.
Thank you, Kelly. I'll take that from you. Romeo's great, obviously, but it's Basement Jaxx. What pleased me even more was someone took one of your songs, and like you said, it done well anyway, and they made it a garage anthem. And at a time when garage was very male-dominated. So how did you find entering the garage world? Was it difficult? Did you have to fight to get your place? And how did that mix of My Love come about?
So I was still at the label at the time, and I used to go to a night called Twice as Nice.
Woo! I was there. Hello.
It was every Sunday. It was literally, we would go like it was like...
Church.
Yeah, like it was church at night. And I went to the first ever one, and I just fell in love with it, and I just fell in love with the music. I fell in love with the scene, and the irony was my song was in the charts, but I was like, I wanted to hear my song in the club. I was like, I really want to be part of this scene. So I think the first single, A Little Bit of Lovin, that had a garage remix, which did okay. But then when we did My Love, I was like, I want to do a garage mix of this. And I think because the label heard like garage was bubbling and whatever, they allowed it, which was such a blessing. So I remember I flew in from Iron Appa and I went straight to the studio with Tim and Omar, who were 10 Below. Yeah. Not that Omar, another Omar.
Although she has worked with that Omar.
Yes, I have worked with
that
Omar.
Even last night you were with
Yes,
that
I
Omar.
worked with... he did a show for me and Terry last night, actually. We were just having fun. Like, I wasn't trying to, like, make this hit or this anthem. I was just, like, having fun. And, like, nearly 3 decades later, I'm still singing it, so...
And that's another thing about you, not only 3 decades later. What I want to know is, when the music industry burns you, and like you said, you were bitter and depressed for a while, when you rebuilt yourself, did you feel that you weren't always going to rely on music? And I say that because Kelly then went on to have her own clothesline, to act, to set up her own reality TV show. What spurred that? What incited you kind of branching out?
I think they're just natural, like, extensions of me. Like I said, my mum's a clothes designer, so my mum taught me to sew from a very young age. And I think because she would make me clothes, I started designing clothes, and then she was like, I'm not going to make it for you, I'm going to teach you. And so I would make my own stuff all the time. And then people would be like, oh, where'd you get that from? And I'd be like, I made it. And they're like, make me one. I'd be like, no. So then it just became like, okay, do your own line, you know. And even with the acting, you know, I feel like as a singer, you're acting all the time. So it's a natural extension, you know. I mean, I do a bit of epoxy resin, which is a little bit different, but still creative, you know. So I'm just a creative being. So it doesn't feel like I'm extending, like extending myself in a way that's like a reach. It's just like I'm just being me, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? It's not like I'm shit at maths. It's not like I'm a mathematician.
Yeah.
I'm like, but yeah, it's just I just feel like it's just me just exploring other facets of things that I already enjoy doing.
Okay. Well, tell us what the future holds. Tell us how we can see you sing live this year, next year, into the next decade. What are your plans?
So I've got a night that I do every Wednesday in London at a restaurant called Sheesh in Mayfair. So I'm there with my band. It's a really good fun night, actually. So if you're ever in London or you want a good night out, I'm literally there every Wednesday. The food is amazing as well. And yeah, it's great. I've got a new album coming out next year, which is with... Yeah. Which is with my band, which I'm really excited about. So that's a fully live album. That's more like back to my old origins of like soul, R&B, a bit of pop in there, a bit of retro, but it's really beautiful and I'm really excited about it. I've just put out a single as well with one of my agencies called INC. They do like albums with all their artists that they have on their roster. So I've just done a cover version of Creep by Radiohead.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But we just did we shot a short horror movie to it, and it's really cool. So please check it out. Like, I'm really proud of it. Like, it's sublime. Like, real good work. So yeah, it's a short horror story. So yeah, I do have my own catsuit brand. It's called Le Catsuit. It's on my website, which is keleleroc.com. New season will be coming next year, but yes, it's up there if you want to check it out. I'm on Instagram, so any events that I'm doing, I post them all on Instagram. So if you want to see where I am at, other than at Sheesh, I do post all my events and gigs on Instagram, and I think they're copied over to my Facebook and to my threads as well. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to be supporting you, but
Thank
before
you.
you go, we need the garage mix of My Love.
You can have it. But I'm going to start with the R&B mix, but we'll go into the garage mix.
All right. But all those people who told me they're going to be dancing, you better be dancing.
Thank you, darling. Thank you.
I think we can say Kele Le Roc deserves her flowers.